Hi guys, it's a lovely sunny morning here in the UK, and it's great to be with you again. Because I just felt like sharing something with you that has been in my heart for the last 1 month, 1.5 months, and I think it's a topic that is really, really crucial if you're going to be successful in your 20s and in your 30s, and that is the matter of guarding your heart. As you know that I'm a Christian and I share whatever I share, I try to base it on the Bible. But you know, even if you're not a Christian, I know this is something that can be really, really beneficial to you if you want to be successful in your 20s and 30s. And the reading comes from where I took this portion of learning that we're going to use today comes from Proverbs chapter 4, verses 23, that says, "Keep thy heart with all thy diligence, for out of it comes the issues of life." Look, like for someone might say, when I was younger, I remember we used to go to Sunday school, and every time the heart came up, I would always wonder, are they talking about like a physical heart, the one that pumps blood? But now that I'm old and I've done some Bible study, I've done some learning, I know that man is three parts, that is spirit, soul, and body. And the heart part, when the Bible says it talks about the man's heart was changed, the man turned his heart away from God. It's simply talking about your the part where you conceive things, the part of your imagination, the part that has I've seen some people who say the central part of the essence of you as a human being. That's the part that God is talking about. The part where all your emotions and will and all that, that's the heart that you should guard. And so when the Bible is telling you something like keep thy heart with all thy diligence, like in whatever you're going to do, you've got to keep your heart with all thy diligence. That it's like someone is telling you there's this thing that you've got to work at so much. So it's always important when the Bible emphasizes something, it's always important to know why is the Bible saying we should guard our hearts. And why it's saying we should guard our hearts is because that's where we conceive things. That's where you're going to conceive dreams. That's where you're going to conceive um, desires. That's where you're going to conceive righteous living, and that's where you're also going to conceive sin. Okay, look, um, one of my favorite preachers says that sin doesn't just land on someone like a seizure. Okay, does just doesn't get a hold of you. You know, I don't think there's so many people who start off at the beginning of the year and they're like, this year I'm going to go out and rake my life. This year I'm going to go out and rake my career and rake my business and rake my marriage. It's it's rarely that. It's rarely that, but it's a gradual thing. So what usually happens, for example, if it's let's start with someone, let's say a marriage, someone who wrecks their marriage, maybe from committing adultery. What usually happens is that over time, um, they start sowing certain seeds in that area. You could start off by watching a casual, movie that has someone who is cheating on their spouse, and you know how we live in a world where some of these things are glorified, and slowly by slowly your conscience is seared. I recall when in high school, one of my friends who was leading the scripture union at the time talked about the fact that if a person is put into a room that is dark, uh, after some time, initially it's all dark, but after some time, the eyes kind of start adjusting. It's not that the darkness has gone away. It's just that you are starting to adjust to the darkness, and you might be able to make out a few objects here and there, and that's what happens. Uh, People come in, people who are married, they start watching all these things, they start compromising, they start having relationships with people who are encouraging them to step out on their marriages and all that. So over time, it breaks this thing in their heart, and they start planting a certain seed. Okay, if you're a farmer, if you've done any farming, you know that how are you going to get crop? You're going to plant seed in the ground. How do people produce children? There is a seed that is planted. I know we're all mature to know how seed is planted. So the heart is where you conceive things. And if you're going to live a life of purpose in your 20s and in your 30s, if you're going to live a life that honors God, if you're going to live a life where you fulfill your dreams, you've got to guard your heart. You've got to make sure that whatever you're putting into your heart, whatever you're listening to, whatever you are watching, whatever conversation you're having is aimed at planting the right seeds, which will inevitably produce the right seed, and the right fruit. Okay, the Bible says, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." Whatever you think, if you're thinking great things, if you're thinking success, that's what you're going to produce. If you hang around people who are only going to tell you about how terrible the economy is now, like for career and business, if all you hang around is people who are telling you how the economy is going to tank, if you're watching news that reinforces those beliefs, I mean, you'll even be too scared to invest. You'll be too scared to try out something. You'll be too scared to try and switch a career. You'll be too scared to try and build that business that God has placed in your heart, because you are listening and planting the wrong seeds in your heart. So if you're going to achieve the great things that God has purposed for you, you've got to make sure that you do it, that you plant the right seeds in your heart, and then you guard it, and then you guard it. Because we live in a society where it's so negative, like negative news sells. I mean, that's what it is. And um, I've seen TV channels, like news channels, where even when something is not like breaking news, they consistently make something breaking news because they want your attention. Okay, the distractions want your attention, but if you give them attention, then you're going to plant those seeds in your heart, because now you'll hear there is this war here, there is this accident here, there is, things like that. Like, there's just so much, you know and yet at the same time, time is flying by so fast for you in your 20s and your 30s. Time is flying so fast within a blink of an eye. I can still remember my last day in finishing high school, a couple of years ago, and it's still fresh in my mind. And then you look back and like, wow, where has the time gone? So if you're going to be successful, you've got to guard your heart. Be very, very careful with your heart. If someone comes in, don't sit around people who are speaking negative. Okay, and sometimes it might not be possible. It might not be possible to walk away from them. For example, it could be, maybe a parent, it could be a teacher, it could be, I mean, someone in authority. I mean, you could be at your workplace and some of your colleagues, and you're in a work meeting, and you can't simply walk away from that conversation. But the Bible tells us that you've got to tear down strongholds. You've got to speak the word. And one of the ways that is really, really important that you've got to do is you've got to speak. You've got to learn how to speak. You can't be passive. You can't be passive. That's why the Bible is saying, with all thy diligence, guard your heart. So there is an effort to it. If someone comes in and says something, let's say you're a career person and you have targets to hit, and the person comes in and is like, we I just don't know how we're going to hit our targets this week. Like, everything is so bad. Like, I think maybe the month is just going to even be worse than the previous month. At that moment in time, if it's a person that you're not able to tell, I don't believe that, I'm going to have a great month, immediately under your breath, declare it. Speak it and say, I reject those seeds. Those seeds are not going to be planted in my heart. I reject them. And then you say, I am going to have a great month. I don't know how the targets are going to come in. I don't know how the leads are going to come up, but I know those leads are going to come up, and I'm going to be the very best in here. Okay? Because you should remember who you are. I don't want to go off tangent, because then I'll go into so many other things. But I wanted to first focus on guarding your heart. Guard your heart. Don't allow anyone, don't allow anything to plant the wrong seeds in your heart. Because if you plant the wrong seeds in your heart, that's what you'll produce. I believe it's either Matthew or Mark, where Jesus says, a good man out of the uh, abundance of his heart will produce good good things, and then an evil man from the abundance of, evil in his heart, he will paraphrase, will also produce evil things. So whatever it is you're producing in your life, that's what you've put in your heart. Like, sorry to tell you, if you put the right seeds, if you're planting faith, Listen to things that edify you. You know, listen to my channel. You know, I promise that I'll always edify you. I'll always speak things that edify you. Listen to things that push you forward. Listen to things that encourage you. Don't listen to things that are depressing. Don't listen to music that's depressing. Look, some of the things that I'm telling you to do, I have done. So I know exactly what I'm talking about. Don't listen to music that is depressing. I know it sometimes it sounds nice. There's some really, really uh, great musicians that have great voices, but they just produce this melancholic music. It's just so depressing. So I'll stop with this today.